on my dresser a small silver dish. It was sent to me about 50 years ago with a note that read, "Please accept this loving memento of the times that you shared with Mrs. Wittie. It was a gift for our 25th wedding anniversary, and it always sat on her dressing table. Sincerely, John Wittie." John and Grace Wittie lived next door to my grandparents in Berkeley Place, which was one of Toledo's most elegant neighborhoods. And my first memory of them is when I am 6 years old, the only child at their 25th wedding anniversary party. I dashed ahead of my grandparents, ring the doorbell, stomping snow from my boots, and the doors opened. Oh, there's live musicians and dancing. The Oriental rugs are rolled up, furniture gone. A warm, welcoming fire in the fireplace. Beautiful, tall red candles flickering everywhere, and vases of scarlet red roses to match. It is a fantastic looking place. I've never seen it looking like this. With the musicians is this chanteuse with an elegant long neckline, and she's awaiting her moment. Finally comes. Champagne is poured all around. A hush comes over the crowd, and the husband steps forward and says, "Mrs. Wittie, may I have this dance?" And the chanteuse, "Oh, how we danced on the night we were wed, dear, as I held you so close in my arms." And this elegant couple moves as one around the room. The world was in blue. There were stars in the skies, well, except for those few that were there in your eyes. Back to her husband's embrace, Mrs. Wittie takes a tear from his face, and then he lets her go, and she does dance in these black stiletto heels, gorgeous red silk dress that flares at the knees, and the chanteuse repeats, "The world was in blue." She dances, she dances, she dances in the then the couple does this amazing thing. After they embrace, and she wipes his tear from his cheek, I notice that a lot of the adults are crying. Well, at 6 years old, I don't understand tears of joy. And I said, but this is a happy time. And I start to clap, and people kind of laugh. And then they clap with me. Oh. Then, Mrs. Wittie, she comes over, bends down to me. Her eyes, they really do twinkle. And her perfume, oh. And in this moment, she becomes my Mrs. Wittie. My dear, are you having a good time? Oh, yes. but I miss my mom. She's real pretty like you, and she's a good dancer too. My mother was away, far away at Mayo Clinic, being treated for a rare, life-threatening disease. Thank God she did not die. But it left this left side paralyzed and her hand in a fist. But in spite of what the doctors said, they didn't know my mom. She did walk again. A slight limp. Most people said they didn't even notice it. But she never danced again. My father continued always to adore her. And we were so fortunate. We just learned to live with her barely concealed bitterness and a rather odd sense of humor. My father's profession took us to live in many different cities, but we always came back to Toledo for Christmas and summer vacations. All the relatives were there. My mother's family and my beloved cousins. They lived in working class neighborhoods. Lots of kids, yards where dandelions were allowed to grow. My father's parents lived in Berkeley Place, this very, well, somewhat uppity community, and perfect houses, perfect lawns. And if kids were allowed to live there where I never saw any, so I would just beg when I got bored. Can I go see my Mrs. Wittie? She is not your Mrs. Wittie. The Witties are different from us. They come from money. Not like your Grandma Lily and Grandpa, who moved here. They had to save and save. Their parents were German immigrants. Why, they still eat boiled potatoes and wieners most of the time just to be able to afford this place. I dare say the Witties have never wanted for anything. But she was proved wrong when Mrs. Wittie's back required surgery and it only made it worse. But on the occasions when I was finally allowed to visit, her maid Miriam would open the door and say, "Oh, hello, honey. Go on upstairs. Mrs. Wittie's been waiting for you." And I'd race up the stairs, and at the landing I'd hear her call, "Oh, Jeannie, come let me see you." In her bedroom, there she would be, fully dressed, lovely blouse and skirt, lying on top of the bedspread, propped up against pillows so her back didn't hurt so much. Then we would talk. Well, mostly I would talk. And she would listen. I could tell her anything in this room. My secrets, my stories, my jokes. These tall French windows, the light just poured in, even on cloudy days. And then it would magnetize the mirror over her dressing table. She understood the attraction and would invite me to sit down. Oh, there's this huge mirror and fresh flowers She always had fresh flowers. And over here, a large jewelry box. I didn't dare mess with that. But next to it was this little silver dish. It had lipsticks and buttons and pincushion. Here, creams, powders, little puffs, and an arrangement of little crystal perfume bottles. Oh. Go ahead. Pick them up. Smell them. That's what perfume is for. Well, all my life, all I ever heard was, don't touch. And be careful. This way. Don't break it. Looks like you found your favorite. You have good taste. It's called joy. That bottle's nearly empty. You go ahead. Keep it. Back in Grandmother's kitchen, Mother says, she gave you that? Yes. And she said she'd save all her bottles for me after this, all those beautiful little perfume bottles. Oh, I just love this woman. She's so cheerful. I know she's in pain, but she never complains. Well, if I had a full-time maid, I wouldn't complain either. I'd be cheerful. Grandmother says, you know, you'd think with all their money that they could find the doctors to fix that woman. In my junior high years, the Witties had their 2 sons married, beautiful wives, and then they had 2 beautiful little granddaughters. And I was jealous. Well, she had always told me that I was the little girl that she had never had. And Grandmother said that she was so excited. Mrs. Wittie was making plans to take the girls and her whole family to Europe, to famous opera houses. But then her back needed another surgery, and the trip was canceled. That Christmas, when I visited her, she at least was downstairs now. She was on a chaise lounge, dressed in a lovely holiday sweater with poinsettias embroidered on it, propped up on pillows as usual. And next to her was this table. It was strewn with language dictionaries and operatic librettos and books on travel. And I was so pleased to see her, but said how very sorry I was that the trip was canceled. Oh, thank you, but it's even better now. The girls come over every afternoon. I've brought in a tutor. He's teaching them German and French and Italian, of course. I'm planning another trip for the next spring. And then, you see, the girls, they will know the languages and the music and the history of some of the countries that we visit. And even if I can't go, I can look forward to hearing their stories about their adventures. Like you, they always love to tell me their stories. Back in Grandmother's kitchen. Lord, you know, that's the aria from Madame Butterfly. Bunch of large people moving around, bellowing about some tragedy or another. They sing in foreign languages so you can't even understand them. And in the end, they all die. Oh, mother. Well, it's true. In my late teens, we didn't go to Toledo quite as often. I was a senior. Christmas break, when we went back the next time. But I felt like a giddy kid when we drove up to Berkeley Place. And my grandmother's signature blue lights outlined the A-frame of that house. And she couldn't wait to tell me, the Witties, they've invited you to join them tomorrow night at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. The rest of us are not invited. No, just Jeannie. And they're sending a cab to pick her up. Oh, the extravagance. The extravagance. The magnificent extravagance. It wasn't a cab, it was a limo. And it was new. You could smell the leather in those seats and sit back, and Christmas carols were piped in. And outside, Christmas decorations twinkled in between the snowflakes. At the club, the maitre d' escorts me to their table, and I see Mr. Wittie rise to greet me. But then I see my beloved Mrs. Wittie. She's in a wheelchair, and there's a black strap across her chest to hold her back. But as our eyes meet, I think how fitting that her first name is Grace. Oh, Jeannie, what a treat to see you. Come, let me look at you. Oh, you're wearing one of those fashionable new mini dresses. Oh, you must sit down. I want to hear all about college. And a boyfriend. You must have a boyfriend. And what will you do after graduation? The two of us speak together. Private conversation. And then cocktails are served. Very nice. And then the combo comes back. And I say, oh, that's the twist. Oh, Jeannie, you must dance with John. There's nothing to do but to move me out onto the dance floor. And he first does what he knows how to do. He whirls and dips me. And then he says, okay, now, show us the twist. Let's twist again, like we did last summer. Woo! Let's twist again, like we did last fall. And I am so full of myself. In this knit, perfectly fitting red and black mini dress in my black stacked high heels. I'm 21 years old. I'm a senior at the university, and then I'm going to graduate. I'm going to go to New York City and work at Columbia Records. And I'm dancing, and then I noticed that a lot of the people have kind of stood back. And I say, no, come on the floor, dance. Do what you know how to do. Come on, twist again, like we did last summer, and they dance. The floor is packed with people, and they're doing, well, some are doing foxtrot. I see hoochie coochie, and this one, I'm not sure what that is. And Mr. Wittie, he's doing, of course, Charleston, boom, boom, boom. And it's such a grand time. Everybody's on the floor. Everybody's dancing to the music until he finally says, "Whew, I think that's enough." And he leads me back. And then I see on my beautiful Mrs. Wittie's face, tears. How could I have been so insensitive? Oh, Mrs. Wittie, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. She puts a finger to my lips. Shh. Thank you so much. It's been a long time since I've seen John dance. Isn't he still the most handsome man on the floor? You know, we used to go dancing almost every weekend. It was some of our very, very best times. Oh, thank you, Jimmy, for bringing back those grand memories. At 21, I didn't understand the joy of memories. And I thought tonight, as I selected a lipstick from my little silver dish, how I now know a fair amount about memories, but remind myself that the most important thing about memories is to be making them now.